15 years ago, last Sunday, 343 firefighters gave it everything they could and made the ultimate sacrifice, along with hundreds of police officers and thousands of civilians. Last Sunday, we reflected on that, and one of the things I said at one of the presentations that I was at was, or one of the things I heard was, we'll never forget. And that's true, we'll never forget. But what we need to never forget is people are still sacrificing and giving today. I read regularly on different forums and different journals that I read about people that continue to die because of the diseases, the different types of cancers, and the different things that they were exposed to that day because they went there to help. So please don't ever forget and realize that people are still sacrificing today. What I'd like to speak to you today is about the great work your fire department's doing. And I think often people think of the Fountain Valley Fire Department and they think, we're just working here in the city. Well, that's not exactly true. We work up and down the state of California. And the way we do that is through the Master Mutual Aid Plan. And I'm sure all of you have seen all the different fires that have gone on this summer. It's been a very, very active summer. And a lot of it is attributed to the drought and to the mortality rate of the trees in our forests and different things that are going on up and down the state. So I was going to share some of the assignments that my people have had this summer. They were assigned to the Sand Fire for 3 days. That was in Palmdale. That's how we kicked off the summer. And then for 9 days, they went to the Soberan's Fire in Monterey. And then off to the Pilot Fire for 2 days. And then the Chimney Fire, they were there for 14 days. They then were reassigned to the Blue Cut Fire in Wrightwood. And then most recently, the Holy Gym Fire, we were there for 3 or 4 days. They actually had a really cool assignment. They were in charge of filling the aircraft that landed and then took off again to go do water drops. Why is this important to Fountain Valley? It would be very difficult for a municipal department to be able to put together a fire department that can handle any type of crisis that happens in the city. We've heard a lot about domestic terrorism. Mr. Rohrbacher talked about the San Bernardino incident. That could happen here. That could happen in one of our neighboring cities in Westminster or Huntington Beach. They are going to need assistance. We're going to need assistance. So that's why we're part of this automatic mutual aid plan here locally and part of the master mutual aid plan up and down the state. The good news is, I've heard a lot of things today that kind of sunk in my chair and thought, oh my gosh, does anybody give us any good news? The good news is, people like Mr. Rohrbacher and the folks sitting at this table here have put into place systems that reimburse the local departments for assisting when we go statewide to help. All those fires that I just talked about, the local community is not paying for that. We send the resources and we get reimbursed by whoever is responsible for that fire. There's local responsible, there's state responsible, and then there's federal responsibility. And it just depends on where the fire happens, what part of the forest, and who ultimately reimburses the city for those resources that are sent. So that's just some of the stuff that's going on in the city with your fire department. They're still out there doing a great job, even though we send resources up north or wherever they go. We still protect the city here. We still answer the 6,500 calls that come in locally to the city. Approximately 86% of those are medical in origin. But what we have to remember is even though they have a medical component because they're typed in the computer as a medical emergency, a large portion of those medical emergencies have some type of a rescue component attached to it. And it could be just as simple as trying to figure out how to get someone that collapsed because of a stroke or heart attack out of the bathtub and into the ambulance. It sounds very simple, but when you're dealing with somebody that can't move at approximately 200 pounds or more, people are hard to move. I'd rather move a 200-pound box because I can do that with levers and pries and different types of mechanical advantage. But we can't do that with people. It takes a full crew of 4 and sometimes more to move someone just out of a bathtub into an ambulance. Or some of the cases that we go to where there's hoarding. Not too long ago, because not only am I your fire chief, but I run your battalion as well, which is very unique. There's not another fire chief in the county that does that. I ran a fire just up the street here where it was hoarding conditions. Firefighters couldn't get in because of all the stuff that was piled in the hallways and in the bedrooms. It was very difficult. The guys did a great job because of what we call transitional fire attack through their training. They attacked the fire from the outside. They knocked down the brunt of it. We blew the smoke out so we could kind of see what was going on, and we were able to get in and then keep the fire in check and really hold the fire to its area of origin. Some say, well, why not just let it burn? The insurance company's going to pay for it. Yeah, but what about all the stuff that these people have collected over the years, the pictures, the things that you've saved? So, and God forbid there's somebody in there. So it is important to get to those fires quickly and knock them down as rapidly as possible. I could go on and on and on and talk about the fire department and what we're doing, but I'm here to tell you they're out there working hard for the community, protecting the community, and ultimately ensuring that the community is safe, and working very closely with our police department to keep the community safe. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's in a nutshell kind of what's going on with the fire department. Yes, sir.
I've always been curious. When it's a medical call, there's an ambulance that goes out, there's always a fire truck with it. Why?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that question. In Fountain Valley and in most other departments, I can't think of another in Orange County, the paramedics show up with the fire department, not on the ambulance. And it kind of goes to what I just talked about. When you show up to a medical aid, there's always some sort of rescue component if it's just simply moving the patient from one spot to the other. So to just send 2 in an ambulance, that's not enough people. It takes more than that. So you're going to end up sending a fire truck and an ambulance, even if the paramedics showed up on the ambulance. But in this city, our paramedics go on the fire truck. And why do we do that? Because we put together a deployment model where one crew with cross-training can handle any emergency and start to make the situation better as rapidly as possible. So when the paramedics show up on the fire engine, they begin to take care of the person. The ambulance shows up. They work collaboratively. The paramedics go in the ambulance to the hospital. That engine company goes back into service and continues to protect the city. Yeah. Any other questions? Great. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, Chief.